Globally, the population of older persons from 60 years and above is growing rapidly, with predictions showing that Africa will bear more number of older persons by the year 2050 in spite of the high youth population. An India author, Aparna Verma, advocates love and respect for the elder because everyone is aging too, and it is also in tune with the charge by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres to world leaders to address the challenges of longevity and unleash its potential. This is therefore a call for the care and support of older persons, and it is the focus of this edition of Frontiers. I am Obiageli Ugwoke. Our guest is a woman who has great passion for issues concerning older persons and also heads the National Senior Citizen Center, Dr. Emma Omokaro. Glad to have you on the program.
Thank you so much. So it's a pleasure to be here.
The program continues in just a moment. Please stay tuned. Once more, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now 1 year since the president appointed you as the head of the Senior Citizen Center, which is, among other things, to ensure that the provision of adequate social services and also improve the quality of life of the elderly. What is the experience like being the Pioneer Director General?
It was exactly 1 year, June 7th. And the experience has been exciting in the sense that it was long awaited, challenging in the sense that it's a system that's never been before. So pioneering has been, like ensuring that we put all the operational platforms in place. And because aging is multi-sectoral, it has meant that, we had to put down a strategic plan on how we're going to coordinate, develop a framework of bringing all the very relevant actors. And then, of course, it also had to mean that within this 1 year, we had to take the national policy on aging and then really break it down into action plan and program and project activities so that you really know what are your priorities. So if you say income security is our priority, so what kinds of interventions do you bring there? And then who are the actors that would be there for you to partner with to ensure those interventions get there? That's number one. And then you also find that we had to develop some strategic pathways. So when you talk, for instance, about income security, so how do you create opportunities for older people who over the years have been left out, but financially excluded? So how do you create opportunities so that they develop their livelihoods? They're included in a microcredits. And where are they? And who are these older people? So it has been issues of aligning your priorities, getting the partners, and finding a strategic pathway. And 2 strategic pathways we found. 1, creating new opportunities. 2, identifying what already exists in all the MDAs and then mainstreaming older people into those ones. I give you an example. Say using the income security. So when we created our own livelihood programs, for instance, right now we are working to empower older persons involved in indigenous crafts and arts, indigenous livelihoods. So we have crisscrossed this country. We are working with MDE to do the assessments, their capacities and skills and challenges. And we on our own identifying the crafts and then building capacities of older people, which we're going to start very soon, and then empowering them, to ensure that those things don't die out. Empowering them to help them in cases of
so that
logistics
is
to bring the raw
other
material.
persons engaged, right?
They are engaged, yes, getting them engaged. And not only engaging them to upskill them, but also finding the markets. We signed a memorandum of understanding with the private sector that promotes 100% made in Nigeria goods. And then this private sector also had uptakers that are ready to take on the produce of older people. So in livelihoods also, we are in agriculture. We're identifying also crops, that we have uptakers as they are planting them, right from even the seedling, the planting, the harvesting is up to standard of the uptakers. So that is livelihood, new opportunities that we are creating. And then when it comes to social assistance and social safety net and grants for vulnerable people, our ministry, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, under the National Social Investment Programs, has also mainstreamed older people, have advocated, and older persons have been mainstreamed into these grants for vulnerable groups, as well as now, thank God for my minister, Hajiya Sadiya Umar Farouk. She has also approved that older persons be given a dedicated social safety net, just like other population category are getting things, So that one is going to be launched very soon. So those are the things we have been doing. And then you come to health. So what kinds of intervention can we be in? First and foremost, what had been in existence? We have the primary healthcare system, but you will now see that the chronic and the complex situation, the peculiar kinds of health challenges of older persons had not been aligned to the primary healthcare system. So we identified the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, identified the executive secretaries of all the states.
Statistics indicate that a quarter of the world's population is expected to be over 60 by the year 2050. What should be done by Nigeria and the other African countries to handle the challenges and large number of older persons?
Yeah, exactly. By 2050, 1 in every 5 persons will be an older person, 60 years and above. And so any responsible government will start putting the things in place. Nigeria has a bulging youth population, and it could be very deceptive when you see the huge population of youths and you think that's going to be stagnant. They are all shifting and getting old. So you can imagine this huge population in 2050. So just imagine that staggering number of older persons. So Nigeria is on the right path, because how do you ensure a framework and institutional arrangement to take care of this? That's what Nigeria is doing now. First, by legislation, you have a dedicated entity by law that focuses on this population category and can coordinate across MDAs to ensure that adequate provisions in terms of programs and services and budget lines are done. And then the next thing is that you must have a policy that articulates the challenges, and Nigeria has that. And then, of course, the next thing is you must have a strategy that says, so how are you going to do these things? And don't forget that Nigeria, we have a federal system where you have the federal, the state, and the local government. So, and where you have older persons, in the rural areas, they had to reach places. So what engagement mechanisms, what would be that relationship and that partnership with the state and the local government who have them as their constituents? So that has to be put in place to ensure that whatever preparations is made, as we are doing now, putting down stakeholders, very extensive stakeholders engagement mechanism, and now developing very sustainable partnership with the state government, especially with the ministries that have oversight over older persons, which we have done. So now, very readily, we can get through to the states. And the next thing that has to be done is, when you have a federal system and you have a federal government that is committed to action, the federal government, having developed the act and then the policy, then now has to put in place machinery, serious advocacy machinery, to ensure that the state governments are carried along, that they are encouraged, because it's a federal system, you really cannot force any state government, that they are encouraged to see the need to also set up an agency. Because except you have a dedicated agency, it is extremely difficult to say that you have paid attention to issues of aging. Where you have issues of aging domiciled in a small unit and it's called a welfare department, then you have not even started. Because issues of aging are issues of development. You have seen how we have expanded aging. Now we have continuing engagement mechanisms. How do we engage our retirees? Because very soon you have a huge number of persons who are retired. Retired not because they are tired or they are frail, but retired because it's mandatory. It's mandatory retirement. And so how do we harness all these skills, the experiences and the expertise? How do we build, brain trust that we can continue to use and create new roles and, network so that they are in the system and continuing to bring solutions? And then you look at the age-friendly environment. So how do we make the environment age-friendly? Now the world is changing as we have. You have digital technology, very fast changing. Today you have one, the next day another one, which can cause extreme exclusion of older persons if you are not deliberate about bringing them in, building their capacity, and making sure that those system devices that come are age-friendly within your own country. So how do you ensure that increasing urbanization, where you have, the skyscrapers, you're talking about smart cities, how do you ensure that older persons are not left out? So these are the things. You have migration, you now have insurgencies, you have humanitarian crisis. So now, where you have a coordinating framework and that sees older persons as also bona fide citizens of the country and must be included in development, then you can now have this multi-sectoral approach, the human rights-based approach that Nigeria already has adopted and we are doing. And you have that extensive partnership with all the different MDAs, sustainable partnership. And then you have the monitoring and evaluation, implementation, monitoring and evaluation framework and reporting framework that includes all these multi-sectors. Then you know that you're prepared, you're already doing, and that Nigeria is doing very well. So yes, I think Nigeria is on the right path.
All right, the president has directed the commencement of registration and issuance of identity cards to senior citizens for social inclusion and general services. How does this center intend to go about this?
Oh, we've gone very far with National Identity Card Management Commission. That's NIMC. They are the ones with the statutory mandates. So as soon as that declaration was made, of course, we set up a technical team with NIMC to find a pathway. What's the strategy here? And of course, the strategy is that they are already enrolling, citizens of Nigeria for the NIN, for the identity number. So it was for us now to sit down and see, so how do we encourage more older persons to enroll? Because we are not creating new identity numbers. We are just disaggregating from what you have enrolled, the entire population, disaggregating older persons, and then making their card functional, not just identity card, but making it a smart card, so to speak, that will entitle them to so many concessions.
Well, are they showing interest at all?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm about to tell you. So sitting down with NIMC, advocating and, over discussions and then getting to understand about services that are age-friendly, and then getting to understand about what could constitute barriers. So I tell you now, NIMC has, really set up registration centers across all the local government to the wards, and they have sent us those centers. And to add to that as well, NIMC has appointed focal persons with numbers, telephone numbers, that even older persons can call from their home. So NIMC has also deployed mobile enrollment centers. And there is no workshop, conference, there is no town hall meeting that NSCC has held, and you will not see NIMC there, across the entire nation. So all our stakeholders, up to a local government, they all have this NIMC, all of their centers, and all the names of the focal persons, and the numbers of the focal persons. So they could not have been any more age-friendlier services. So all the barriers have been removed. If you face any barrier, just pick up the phone and call. So that's our relationship with NIMSI. So far we have been able to go through this. So, and we hope that maybe we can very soon design the dummy, you know, what that card would look like. I think, of course, you know, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, who has oversight over NIMSI, has to give approval for that. I think that's the stage that we are now.
Okay, yeah. That's very good one, very good step, and quite commendable. We'll pause here for a while. I'll get back to you. This is Frontiers, and the program continues in a moment. Stay with us. Thanks for being there. Now, let's talk about the health of the elder persons. You once mentioned a few things about care for the health of the elderly. One thing that is always connected with ageism is decline in health. Now, are there plans to provide comprehensive health insurance cover for these older persons, not only in urban centers, but also in the remote villages, because we also have those in the rural areas?
Yeah, the present administration of His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari really has done a lot for older persons. Of course, you're aware that the National Health Insurance Authority Act is in existence now, signed that bill into law. And that bill now has integrated older persons into that vulnerable group, which before now really didn't, you know, speak about older persons. And these are the groups that would enjoy health insurance without paying premium. So now health insurance becomes a social assistance. It's like a social program for the poor and the vulnerable. So that has been captured in that act, which is wonderful. However, you also have also private sector now being given an opportunity to be part of the health insurance system. And in NSCC, we are particular about developing, you know, working with the relevant sectors to look into long-term care. Because of course, you know that at some point, older persons really get, you know, into protracted and multi-morbidity situations. And you find where adult children or caregivers are really stressed because most of those they are paying out of pocket. And you also find a situation where even the health insurance that is provided is also, the care package is also limited. And so we are wondering how we can sit with the private sector in these health insurance companies and see how we can develop, you know, products, you know, for caregivers, family members that they can pay into and that would, you know, alleviate the burden of paying out of pockets. For instance, you have, you know, Nigerians living in the diaspora and where they have their parents, you know, paying out of pocket. If we have a product like this, you can start from a long time to be paying. I know they have a product that you pay into, you know, awaiting the death of your parents. So you pay into and your parents dies and you draw the money and you bury your parents. So why can't we develop a product that will keep them alive? So we are looking into that as well. So the Health Insurance Authority Act has expanded the field, and we feel very, very happy that it has given this opportunity for more products to be created and more actors to come in, you know, apart from just the federal government. And another, you know, interesting thing there that provides opportunity for everybody to be covered is that it now becomes mandatory for all Nigerians, you know, to buy into the health insurance. So that gives you more pool of money, you know, for more Nigerians to be covered. So I think older persons, with the operating platforms and frameworks that this administration has put in place, it is just a matter of time, you know, that a lot of things will be right.
All right, there's a saying that goes that what an old man sees sitting down, even if a younger person climbs the tallest Iroko tree, you can still not see it. And that goes to show that the older persons are somehow reservoirs of great knowledge to an extent. Now, how does the center intend to tap from their wealth of knowledge and experience for national development?
Yeah, we have already developed a huge, that's a huge project for us. It's part of what we have even, integrated into the National Development Plan. Continuing Engagement Bureau, that's what we call it, where we are going to develop what we call Experience Incubator and Brain Trust.
Okay.
So we are giving opportunity right now.
That sounds interesting.
Yes. So we are developing, platforms where we identify different categories of older people and the different fields of interest of older people. Where they have been, you have retired diplomats, they're in this country and they're everywhere here. So what are we doing with such accumulation of, diplomacy, knowledge in diplomacy?
And wealth of knowledge.
You have professionals in engineering, you have doctors, you have robotics, you have older persons in the diaspora. So how are we going to tap that to become, focal points for solutions for Nigeria? We're already developing that platform, and we find it very exciting. And it's hope for the retirees. So we are going to disrupt retirement. That is what we call it. Disrupting retirement, disrupting isolation and that loneliness. Because very soon we are going to have many platforms everywhere doing a lot of things. And then, of course, we are not just doing that NSCC, just create a platform. The platform also will be about those agencies that need these services. Identify, even if it's a school, and we have experienced corps, we have retired teachers. So we also have to have these agencies, these schools, or these organizations who will go and fill in their needs so we can match. And we are comparing what is going on in different countries. We are also indigenizing our own. So in NSCC, in fact, we work we don't have closing period. Let me just say that. Because the work is very exciting for us, and we have our older persons also volunteering. See, we have many older persons volunteering, just coming to volunteer.
Volunteer as well.
Oh, yes, they volunteer. Retired, what can we do here? I say, come on board, we have a lot of work we can do here. And what are we doing? We're just sitting down and, strategizing and developing programs. It's very interesting.
It's
the
really,
opportunity
really
this administration
that even at
has
that age,
us.
they still want to do something for their country. They
And
still
when
want
you
to
say
serve.
even at that age, that is also stereotypical. Because at that age, what age do you stop, doing the things that you value and you love? So it's just to create the opportunities, just remove all the barriers and see them as moving reservoirs. You call them reservoirs, yes. We use this brain trust, where you bank your money, this one you just bank experience.
There's something you do, Dr. Mokari, that I'm very, very excited about. You've been an advocate for the inclusion of older persons as a way of keeping them productive, even after retirement. Yes. How can this be achieved with your involvement of the center?
That's what we just said. Very soon we are going to unveil that. This same administration, the president, also answered that call and just gave older persons a day dedicated, because it used to clash with 1st October, Independence Day, the UN International Day.
Yes.
So we were really celebrating the resilience of older people. And there we were also celebrating the next phase, because we are bringing out older persons, engaging them. Whether you're a subsistence farmer, we have created programs where you cannot only, we have identified this private sector, they have done feasibility studies across this country. So they know the crops. They have also done feasibility studies about who the uptakers are. They know the crops' comparative advantages, the soils as we can grow them, and they have identified all these things and have, done a lot to show the processing, the value chain that can be added. And so we advocated and said, older persons are subsistence farmers. Older persons can farm this. Instead of just farming and, subsistently and eating and then going to the local markets to say, oh, maybe somebody will come and buy this one yam. No, we are taking them from there. We will give them. Say, this your soil can grow this. And as soon as you start to grow, bring the seedlings. As soon as you grow it, and you have the produce, somebody's buying them off of you. So that is what the arrangement we have made. And we are going to, pilot that. We have 3 states that are already offering us, some leasing, some land. And it's going to be community focused, because we are sensitizing the royal fathers in those communities, because we want them to own it. And the older women, we are starting with older women. We call it grandmothers arise for good. Instead of being accused as being a witch and being beaten, and no. Come and let them see the assets that you have. When you begin to make money, in that respect, it's going to be restored.
Of course, definitely.
So that's where we are now. So we have identified the crops, we have identified some land, we have identified the off-takers, we signed an agreement, and then we have identified where we are going to get the seedlings. And then, of course, the press will be there when we are launching.
Well, I must confess that with all of these that you've just outlined, the center is actually really productive.
Yes. And the same with indigenous crafts.
Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much. Giving hope to our elderly persons. You said that's the right word, right? Thank you. We appreciate you for sharing your thoughts and giving more insights on the lives and care of our elderly persons. We appreciate you for coming on the program.
Always appreciate you.
We have been taking a look at care and support for older persons with Dr. Eman Omakaro, Director General, National Senior Citizen Center, as a guest. Obiageli.